coordinator, Payam Saadat. And Coach, you're just getting started. It's a couple days into practice. What are the things that you focus on with the defense at this point in the practice season?
What we've tried to do these last 3 days, Ken, is just try to introduce all the drills that we will start to be doing here on a daily basis with our kids. As we have this amount of time because of the being in shorts and not in pads, we can't do much, so we introduce a lot, and the practice ends up being a little bit of a walkthrough. But what we try to do is introduce everything that the kids could possibly do within the course of a practice, and then as pads are put on, the practice runs a lot more smoother and runs with a lot more clarity because we're not necessarily having to explain too much.
Okay, and you've got a lot of players at this point in the season. Is it at what point do you kind of find the players that that you're going to go with during the season?
I think in the back of our minds we do have a core set of guys that we know are going to be a part of that travel group, if you will. But I do think you always want to give a young man a fresh start. So it's been better part of about 5 months since spring football, and some guys they have had a lot of time to try to improve themselves, and you want to try to give them their best, a fresh look, if you will, a clean slate, evaluation from a clean slate. And but usually after that first scrimmage, things clears up pretty well, and you have to move forward and really start honing in and focusing on that first opponent.
Absolutely, and one of the changes on defense coming out of spring was Jeff Bacon moved from middle linebacker position out to safety. How does that change the defense? And tell us about some of the players that you have in the linebacker roles this year.
First, with Joffrey moving to free safety, I think that's going to benefit him. Being a little bit farther back from the action allows for the action to better crystallize and come into focus so he can react better. He had trouble being a little bit closer to the ball last year. Even though he made a lot of tackles, he had a little bit of trouble getting too close to the football and not being able to tell where that ball is going to come out, where that running back is going to come out. So we're giving him a chance to do that at free safety. And free safety for us is much like a Mike linebacker position, but he's at 9-10 yards. The other guys we're trying to look at right now at linebackers are Giacenta, Poling, and Meyer. Alex Meyer played Rover last year. We're going to try him at Mike. And Giacenta and Poling are a couple young guys that were on offense last year, but we think they can run very well. We're giving them a shot at the middle linebacker position right now. And then on the outsides, the Rover Sam, we got mainstays. Hayden Pierce is back from his injury. Jordan Trimble is there. Thomas Holloway is there. And Shaquille Tolbert will try at the same position as well. So there's some old faces on the outsides and some new faces on the inside, so to speak.
And on the front line, you have Bobby Coe kind of as an anchor, had a great season last year. Tell us about some of the players that you're counting on the defensive line.
Sure, and certainly, Bobby had an impact last year, and people recognized the individual. But we need to have more than one, and we need to have that one be consistent football player as well. But interiorly, both T.J. Atimalala and Richard Glover, Joe Drummond, Ryan Alexander, Mike Ugini, those names they've been household names for us for the last couple years. On the outsides, we're looking at a couple outside linebackers that either played majority last year or came on towards the second half of last year. James Kelly, Dalton Mendenhall, Holt Zalnaradis, Jared Mackey, of course. So, it's nice that when you talk about the D-line this season, you're talking about familiar names, and that's something we haven't had in the last couple years. It's been different because we've been trying to plug holes with some very young guys. Now there's some names that people recognize. There's experience, there's physical maturity, and that should play a role in how much better we do up front this year.
And one of the things we notice on the opponents each week is how ubiquitous the 300-pound lineman is in college football today on the offensive lines. And that's got to be a real challenge for a defense and certainly at Army. What are the things that you help your players do to help prepare for playing against very big offensive linemen?
Our system is built such that we don't need to necessarily change anything up from week to week. We pride ourselves on our young men being being explosive, being fast, being quick. And what it is the scheme is what neutralizes the ubiquitous 300-pound lineman, as you put it. That's the important thing. Well, us as coaches, us as a coaching staff, we need to make sure that the system we choose to implement is one that allows to use our kids' abilities to their advantages and not have to try to have them defy physics, if you will. So our system allows for the undersized individual, but fast and explosive and quick to succeed against the 300-pounders. Yeah, and there were times where it didn't work, but there were certain times where it has worked. Boston College, it's possible. We just need to make more plays and dispel that fact that you need to be of a certain mold to play defensive line.
Absolutely, and we ask the players here about how it is to balance what they do in playing football with their academic requirements and what they do in the military here at West Point. As a coach, what are the things that you do with the players to help them through balancing the many challenges here at West Point?
I think the best way we as coaches can do that is to constantly interact with our young men. It's just not a football meeting in a football practice. It's having breakfast together when we are having breakfast together. It's having dinner together when we are having dinner together. It's having an open door policy so your young man can come into your office and sit down, not only when they have their shorts and T-shirts on, but when they have their gym alphas on, or they have their Ask for Class on, or have their ACUs on. So he is in that other role as a cadet here. And I think that's important, and that's what we're here for. We're part of that greater mission of this institution. And I just think we have to be able to interact with our guys on a constant basis. Overall wise, I think we've done things from a time perspective, time management perspective, to give our guys more time to be a successful cadet and compete down there in the cadet environment. But sometimes, you as a coach have to be, for lack of a better term, the cool uncle, and just talk about something else besides football. And I think that goes a long ways with these young men.
Absolutely. Just this year you've got a special name on the schedule, Stanford. Is that an extra motivating factor when you've got a team that's a top 10 level team on the schedule?
When the schedule comes out and you first see it, certainly it goes, wow, that's great for our guys. They have that arena to show themselves off and compete in against a national BCS name. As it is now, that game means nothing to us. It's strictly Morgan State, and then after Morgan State, it'll strictly be Ball State. So, yeah, when that schedule comes out and you take a look at it and it's in the off season, sure, you're like, great, that's going to be awesome. You got Stanford, you got Hawaii, you're going to play Cotton Bowl against Louisiana Tech. Oh, that's wonderful. As of now, as of August 1st, it's nothing but Morgan State, and that's the only thing we talk about.
Absolutely. Coach Payam Saadat, co-defensive coordinator here at Army, thank you, and best wishes on the start of the season from all of us at the American Legion.
Thank you, Ken. Appreciate it.
Coach, always